There are 15 days left to the IFOS Mains 2025 exam, and I feel this is one of the most underrated and probably one of the most coveted exam which UPSC conducts. And I feel that most of the candidates who will be writing the exam must have been undergoing firstly tremendous anxiety and stress in terms of what syllabus they are covering, how effective is their orientation towards exam. Secondly, they will be battling from the question on what to do for next 15 days. And thirdly, and most importantly, how to juggle between the two optionals, which will be new for most of the candidates, and GK and English, which is a very underdog and very high scoring area. My name is Nikhil from Nurturing for UPSC, and I have scored 735 marks in last mains. And I would like to share my strategy, my approach in order to maximize the remaining 15 days that we have on our hands to reach the score of 700 plus, which is like a golden ticket for not only for the interview but entry into the coveted list. Firstly, I would like to point out here is that this exam is very unlike rest of the UPSC exams. Everyone who writes this exams fights from the very crucial thing of battling with the time, since majority of the candidates come from the civil services examination mains, and then after that they prepare for the two new optionals. And even those who prepare particularly for the IFOS exams, very few of them have the optional subjects as their background. So in any case, two new optionals they are juggling between. Also the GK and English, which I think are very predictable and unlike of any other civil services papers, play a significant role in this. So my approach here is to help you build strategy to make you believe and help you conquer this 2026 means. And I believe that this session would be of great help to you and will not only inspire you but guide you on a right path to score very high marks in this mains. Firstly, one of the major question that we have is how to balance the time. Considering that we have like close to 15 to 17 days from now, we can assume that there is a 15-hour budget for it, 150-hour budget for it. Considering that most of us would be studying around 8 to 10 hours every day. And how to balance it comes from my way of saying 60, 50, 40 way. So there are three traits to the exam. One is GK English, one is smaller optional, which is generally forestry for most of the candidates, and then there is a bigger optional that can be geology, that can be agri engineering, that can be maths, physics, and or anything. So you need to spend 60 hours of remaining 150-hour budget to your bigger optional, and then 50 hours must be given to the forestry or the smaller optional. Let's say if someone has geology and agriculture as a combination, then smaller optional from them would be the agriculture, so you need to spend 50 hours for it. And the bigger optional, which can be of physics, maths, the agriculture, engineering, the geology, needs more, that is 60 hours of time. And that has been the pattern across your prep as well, if you have been on the correct path. And remaining 40 hours of budget must be spent between GK and English, and within that I feel GK does need a bit of more time, considering the fact that it does require a bit of revision, recalling of facts, and then there are certain issues around a few of unexpected topics which a candidate generally prepares from, and also some of the expected topics from, let's say, history or polity does require a bit of brushing up, since the past few months have gone into studying of these two optionals and had been out of touch for us. So what we need to do is we need to devote like 25 to 30 hours for GK and around 10 to 15 hours for English. So I'll tell you in detail, paper wise, on what should be done. Also, one very important theme is use the gap that exists after the 16th of November, after the Sunday. So what happens that there would be a Sunday where GK and English paper happens, and then after that there would be gap for your two optional papers depending upon what optional have you chosen. That gap is very important, very very important, considering the fact that most that is the most important time for you to recollect and go through whatever important pointers that you have. Like people from geology would have certain details, certain mugging up of diagrams, a certain mugging up of facts. Similarly, those who belong to agri engineering would need to go from formulas, the diagrams. Those who are from mathematics, physics also require certain details to be brushed up. So that is the time which can be a make or break situation for you. Also, considering that the second optionals, the two optionals are majority of the technical area, there would be like methods, there will be derivations, there would be diagrams. So these technical areas need a, a very frequent and immediate revision. So that frequent and immediate revision can only be possible within the gap. And so I'm reiterating and re-emphasizing that the only difference between, let's say, 230 marks in optional and 185 marks in optional is utilization of these gap period. If you have utilized these gap period very well, and if you have prepared yourself to use this gap well, then I guess you are like set for anything. Also, since before GK and English wala paper, majority of the candidates, what they do is they actually do not look for the two optionals before like 2 3 days. So if let's say there is a paper on 16 November, then ideally you should stop going through optionals by 20th of November, 12th of November. Then for 13, 14, 15, you can exclusively devote to GK and English, revise the grammar, write the essays, write reports, write few GK answers so that you are in tune of completing the paper. So that may lead to like a bit of a hangover over the optionals. So it's better to pick up the pace just after the English papers. Now I'll talk paper wise on how to handle it. So firstly, the forestry is the optional which like 70% of the candidates, those who write, have. So I'll be talking a bit more in detail about this paper. First and foremost question is how to utilize the remaining 15 days and how to revise from it. So to understand the revision strategy, we must understand that forestry paper, in the both the papers of forestry are divided into two divisions. Firstly, there are core areas. What they mean, there are forestry concepts. It also means that these concepts you aren't been aware of beforehand. Also, these concepts are utilized to answer the other general area based questions. So these include like silviculture systems in paper 1A, then forest management, mensuration, survey in 2A, and tree improvement in 1B, since like this includes the progeny test, the provenance test, the hybridization, and the a part of genetics. I don't think like I am not an expert from botany or biology, and also like major to candidates who come from engineering background are also not. So this topic itself becomes a bit of, you can say, core area, a differentiable conceptual area for most of us. And also forest utilization, whereby there is like specificity of certain names, certain processes which play very significant role. So while revising, you need to prioritize these areas now. So whatever may be your position now, like whether you have completed half of the syllabus, three-fourths of the syllabus, or like full syllabus, or have done multiple revisions, in any case, your focus for revision for the first hand should be of these core areas. You must be well versed with them, well versed with with the concepts that it has, and well versed with the certain themes that it carries, so that you can use that themes, that reflections, that concepts to understand the general area based question. So if let's say, and the general area based topics are, let's say, 2 1B wala agroforestry, then there is soil, then there is wildlife protection, then there is topics on environment and ecology, the forest ecology. You are aware of such topics, you know the concepts here, since you have cleared prelims, and most of you have must have written civil services mains also. So these area, the conceptual understanding is not that significant, which you need to build upon. So here you can only look for the PY, understand those PYQs, write those PYQs, so that you get a hang on what the content, those the questions which these topics come from demand. So here 5 6 years of PYQs would suffice for you, but don't go beyond and just get into revising these areas first rather than these areas. Also remember to correlate and interlink the core areas, core topics with the general area topics. The methodology to do revision here is, that do not get much into mugging up now. So, since I run a IFOS Reflections Mentorship program, and I am in touch with more than 50 candidates who are writing mains this year, and few of them are selected, and they do also come from multiple interviews as well. Even for them, the pertinent question they ask me is, what details are needed to be mugged up in forestry? For me, I think that only few details are need to be mugged up, like the names of species or certain instruments or certain formulas and methodologies. Apart from that, you need to generate points for them. You cannot, since the questions have started to become a bit of multidimensional and a bit of out of box since 2023, I feel that just mugging up now won't work, and you won't be able to recollect, remember all the content for that. And the burden of that would be that you won't be able to write whatever basic content, background content that you know in the exam. So let's say there is a question on agroforestry. So you will be thinking about writing a technical definition, writing the methods, processes, writing the various types. I mean, yes, you should know what types are, what is the their spatial distribution, what kind of species and agriculture systems which are being used. Everything is there, everything you should know. But what if you don't remember them at that time? What if you are not able to generate some points there by way of memory? So what you need to do is you need to generate points on spot. Generate by way of your background knowledge. Generate by way of whatever understanding of the topic that you have. Since remember, none of the candidates who write this exam come from absolute forestry background. Even if they are, they would be maybe two or three candidates, or maybe 2 or 3% candidates, but not more than that. So everyone is actually someone who comes from forestry, study of forestry as a new subject. So here, understanding of yourself matters. How you are able to interlink that matters, since this exam is for Indian Forest Services, not a graduation exam for a forestry, BSc forestry or MSc forestry paper. If you get the hang of this idea, then you will be able to score very high marks even with limited knowledge. I'm saying limited knowledge, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be focusing on diagrams, you shouldn't be focusing on maps, you shouldn't be focusing on species names. They all are necessary, they all do add up. But considering this, the paucity of time that we have, and maybe at different stages of preparation that you are having, such background or having such details prepared doesn't matter much. If they are prepared for you, then you are well and good, you are good to go. But even if you are not, don't leave any hope behind. Work on yourself, work on whatever background knowledge that you have, and see how you can relate core areas to the general areas and answer those questions. Like I am saying, use your own sense, use your own understanding, use whatever perspective, whatever view that you have. Just don't give up at this position. Also, another good way of doing revision is think and brainstorm on PYQs. Even if you haven't revised, even if you have like done 1 or 2 cursory readings of the syllabus and all the topics, you can't remember each and everything. Still try and think and brainstorm, because you never know what would be the language, in what frame the questions are being asked from a certain topic. What most of the candidates do is they just end up revising notes and do not focus much on thinking, brainstorming, and writing PYQs. Writing a few of the PYQs would suffice to get control over what should be the structuring, what should be the answer framing of the topic. But also brainstorming would help you in using your common sense, developing the certain frameworks, and it will also ensure that few of the like maps, case studies, and species names, you get hang of them just by way of doing the exercise repeatedly. Now moving on to the next paper, which would be the bigger optional. Like I've said, it can be geology, it can be chemical engineering, it can be civil engineering, it can be agriculture engineering, it can be physics, it can be geology, anything. Even if you are excellent in your subject, even if you have done 3 4 readings, whatever may be the case, your first priority must be knowing 5 years of PYQs. When I mean to say no, I mean you should be thorough with it. You would be able to solve, write any question that comes from it. So my logic behind is this: there would be like 38 questions in every paper. So 38 into 5 itself would mean that you are handling greater than 150 topics. And I don't think like there are any topics in this syllabus which are beyond 150. And this would give you a concrete idea that I am I have a projectable pathway for me to move forward. And these 5 years of PYQ wala logic would ensure that you have something to do concretely, and this would ensure that you are actually getting hang on a entirety of the syllabus at least once or at least twice. And this thorough doing of PYQs not only means being able to solve or write any question, but also no theory aspect of it as well. And once you are done with it, thorough with it, then move on to the fringe topics. Here my entire intention, my entire idea about talking is this: in civil services examination or rest of the examinations, what we do is we tend to sharpen our weaker areas. However, this exam in itself is a skewed exam. There would be candidates who would score 290 marks in the bigger optional. There would be candidates who would score like 260, 265 marks. There would be candidates who would score skewed like myself, where I did 300 in GK plus English one times and 319 in other times. So whatever I try to do is I try to improve my strength, improve my stronger areas, improve and score maximum out of them. Like उसमें से निचोड़ लो तुम, whatever marks you can fetch from that, just fetch from it. And you can like keep weaker areas here and there and just ensure that they do not become hurdle. If you are able to do it in across the three segments that we talked about, if you can do it in two segments, then you will definitely score 720 plus marks. And 720 plus marks, if you have gone through, is absolute ticket to the finalist, unless like you do very bad like I did in the interview also. And in that in the 5 years PYQs, after that also focus on the easier areas of which you know, easier areas which have you read a bit about earlier, easier areas which are doable, areas which have repeatedly appeared. So like let's say in agriculture engineering, which is my background and which actually is my optional for this exam, I have realized that there are certain topics from the topic irrigation, from the topic of soil water conservation, which are based on the GK knowledge or the general knowledge or the geography knowledge. So I ensure that any question that comes from these areas I would be tackling first. Also, there would be certain areas which repeatedly occur. So there is this area of engines from farm power and machinery that appears every year. So I have ensured that I will not leave that question in any sense. I'll be first revising that area and I'll be maximizing my score there. Similarly, in geology, there are areas around, let's say, geomorphology, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the land reform, the landform formations. So that areas you must have already known or you have read a bit about it. So focus on that areas. In addition to that, there would be certain doable areas like which are theory based, which have very basic concepts. Identify those low hanging fruits and just improve on them. Here you can take a bit of risk. What I meant to say by taking a risk, you can leave, I would not suggest, but if there is a paucity of time and if let's say you are coming from someone who is new to both the optionals, then you can take a bit of risk and say can leave a bit of syllabus entirely. I know I may sound a bit out of the line when I'm saying this, but indeed this works because the exam is made in a very skewed manner and so is the paper. So you can take a bit of risk. Trust yourself that if the questions from other areas which you have left comes, you will be 100% able to take a big hit on them. Then you can take this risk and leave a bit of area at the expense of doing the easier areas very well. And now the question about the GK paper, as I have talked about the skewed nature of exam from the beginning, it is also reflected in the skew nature of the GK paper as well. The areas around history, geography, economy are a bit easier, doable, and very high scoring. So every year, from history where the questions would come, from the geography the questions would come, from the economy the questions would come. Similarly, the questions from science and tech and environment have been a bit random. Particularly, the questions from the science and tech are very random, and they do ask from anything to everything. Like last year, they asked about lie detector test, which no one can predict. And when we discussed after writing the exam, everyone was like, "Pata nahi kya पूछ लिया यार." And every year this happens. Before that, that was about dark matter, dark energy. Before that, it was about the objectives and the what was the layout, the budgetary layout for the quantum computer mission. So such details you cannot remember, and it is not advisable even now to like go behind such random questions. It's better to catch up what is low hanging, what is easier, and what is doable. So like predict what is predictable and doable. Also, while doing so, go through the themes for PYQs. We have already shared a PYQ compilation of all the top of all the GK papers of 5 years, that to subject wise. You can check them out on our channel of IFOS underscore reflection, which is IFOS chapter of nurturing for UPSC, and see you can make sense of whatever themes which have been appeared in the PYQ and just prepare a bit on them. Like have some details, have some maps, some diagrams, some names, some events, some data from them, and you can just skim through your notes for it as well. Most importantly, the major question that candidates ask is about the time management. Yes, there is a concern, as there will be 24 questions that are needed to be written. However, if you take a look at it, both the 10 marker and the 15 marker are given 2 pages, and so you need to show the difference. Don't fall into the trap of writing entire 2 pages. Why? Because that would mean that you aren't giving any difference between the 10 marker and 15 marker. So how would examiner know that you have answered the demand in 125 words or 200 words? I hope like you are able to catch the trap that has been laid down. You need, and only if you show the difference, that for 10 marker you will be writing one and a half page, and for 2 markers you will be writing just enough of 2 pages, then you will be able to handsomely complete the paper. I won't say like you will be in very comfortable, but you will be a bit in a bit hurry, in a bit rush, but still complete a bit of paper and won't have to leave any of the questions. And to for the management aspect, there are 6 questions and there are 30 minutes. So what I would do is I would answer every question in 30 minutes, and even in that also I would answer first areas which are predictable and from whom I question no of. So I'm maximizing my marks in the initial phases, and then for the last random questions, for the questions which I will have to like let's say 0.75 page or 1 page, I am keeping them at the last, and I'll scribble something. I'll make sense of whatever words which are there, and I'll make some part of it and write at there without compromising on too much of a time. And now the English paper, it comes in two aspects. One is grammar, another is writing. So in writing, there would be essay, there would be letter, there would be report, précis, and comprehension. So for grammar, which comes for 50 minutes, what people do is people spend majority of the time here, which I think is a bit of overkill and also improper in terms of strategy. What you can do is from now on, you can give 20 minutes every day and solve PYQs. We have already like shared solved PYQs of 10 years in our course, and also there are 5 years CSC compulsory English grammar PYQs on the uploaded on the portal for the subscribers as well. So you what you can do is solve those PYQs and do the reverse engineering. See whatever bits you are not able to come up with. See if let's say you have issue in voice, you have issue in like plural nouns or singular noun, you have issue in the change of speech, etc. only read that topic rather than like picking up Rain and Martin or any other book and going from cover to cover for just for the sake of this part of the paper. That is not advisable and feasible also. So this reverse engineering based strategy is excellent way of covering maximum portion of the grammar and score very high marks. In addition to that, the idioms and formats for this writing aspect are already shared on our channel Nurturing for UPSC. You can check them on Telegram and then just download them for your use and for your disposal. And also with respect to writing, I feel this comes for 250 marks and this is very important. Here you have to know the structure and format, in what way sentences have to be used, in what way we need to utilize the given format in the comprehension. So such things are needed in to make you prepared to make less mistakes. Since this is a English paper, this is not a content based paper, first thing, and second thing, you need to have like workman like understanding of English. So don't go into much of fancy word, longer sentences, just make less mistakes and get done with it. And for doing that, you need to practice, like maybe write 2 letters, 2 reports and an essay to get a hang of how it actually is, and just to get yourself into groove of writing those bits of the paper. And last but something which is casual but which is very important, everyone asks me that, sir, is it doable in these 25 days, 30 days, 45 days and whatever period that may be? I would always say them that this is 100% doable at any juncture. If you have like something, some sort of a background, some sort of a thinking, don't just leave hope, focus on whatever background that you have and come up with writing with it. And even right now, use the 50-hour budget to the greatest of extent that you can use, catch all the low hanging fruits and ensure that you are actually scoring wherever maximum marks that you can. So for me, it was always the case that 1 mark in optional is equal to 1 mark in forestry, is equal to 1 mark in GK, is equal to 1 mark in English. So I realized that if everything is for 1 mark, then I'll get maximum marks from whenever and whichever place I can. So I picked up those areas, those topics where I would be scoring excellent marks. And that happened also. Similarly, 15 days is a still very good time. 150 hours are like very handsome portion. And if you know what to do, if you prioritize, if you don't be greedy, then I guess you will be able to make the most out of it. Just you just need to have belief in yourself, and you just need to scrape through whatever difficulties, whatever challenges that you face. You need to have that self confidence in you that I'm gonna write, I'm gonna perform, I'm gonna use whatever my background and my smart knowledge is in the answering of the questions. And also you need to understand that you need to hang in there. What happens that most of the candidates to realize at this junction is that they don't make it. So what I feel is that it's not over until it's no over. And even if you are able to fight, revise, not compromise on whatever your principles are till the end, and then I feel like you can actually do very well in this exam. For completion of syllabus is another thing, but having background information, having a bit of knowledge of yourself in correlating with the syllabus can be something which actually bears fruit more than what your efforts are. So for me, it has always been utilizing the limited time, utilizing the limited resources, and Pareto optimizing our focus in such a manner that we'll be scoring the maximum marks. This is it from my side. If you have any query or want to speak with anyone, you can always connect with me on Telegram handle, which is NFU underscore official. You can also check out our English course as a one-stop solution. It is a very cheaply priced, but it covers everything from the perspective of English paper. Till then, believe in yourself, say yourself that you are going to do it, and I believe in you. I'm saying it again and again, it is doable, it is very well be able to get done with. And till then, Jai Hind and all the best.